Hi guys, Phil here, welcome back to simracing Bible for another video. You may have noticed on social media recently that there's a rather large virtual Le Mans race coming up very soon, which is taking place on rFactor 2. As such, the guys at Studio 397 have released the brand new Ferrari 488 GTE. So I thought, well, as that car appears in several different sims, why not give it a test on each sim and see how it drives? So obviously we've got it on rFactor 2 now, it's also appeared in Project Cars 2 and iRacing as well. So we're going to jump into each one of those sims and see how it drives, and see if there's any differences between them. Now, I'm going to use the Silverstone circuit for this particular test, just because it appears in all three sims and it's a good test circuit for me. But what I'm not going to be looking at is how different the circuits are. I know there's going to be differences in terms of graphics, in terms of circuit layouts, etc. But I'm really interested in how different the car feels between the different sims. So we're going to jump into Project Cars 2 first and see how it drives, and then we'll go on to iRacing, and then we'll go with the brand new rFactor 2 version. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't checked out the brand new range of simracing Bible merch, go check it out on the link in the description. There's hats, t-shirts, mugs, all sorts of different types of things on there. Go check it out, lots of things to look at. But let's jump into the sim and see how it drives. Okay, so here we are in Project Cars 2 at the end of the pit lane at Silverstone, ready to go out on track. Now, I'm not a biggest user of Project Cars 2, I haven't spent that much time with it, so I'm going to get that excuse out of the way to start off with. But what do we know about the car? The 488 GTE, it's a V8 turbo-powered car, lots of power, 600 plus brake horsepower, but it's a thoroughbred sports car and very successful in sports car racing all over the world. So let's see how it drives on track.
Tires and brakes are stone cold, so go steady until you get them warmed up.
Okay, thank you, engineer. Remember that. Okay, first impressions are the sound is kind of odd. It kind of sounds almost like an air-cooled VW Beetle. You hear that? That kind of rattly noise which you're going to get with a Beetle. Very odd. Anyway, let's try and get this car moving properly. So it says that the tyres should be cold. Let's see if that improves as we drive around. The other thing I've noticed straight away is there's not a whole lot of feedback to the wheel. It's quite, I don't know, just uninformative, is probably the word I would say. It's not giving me a feeling that the car's actually connected with the road very well, but yeah, see I turn in there. Ooh. Curb sucked me off to the left then for some reason. But yeah, you turn in and it doesn't feel like the car's actually got any kind of grip whatsoever. I mean, that could just be the cold tyres, possibly. So we'll give it the benefit of the doubt, and we'll do a couple of laps just to try and get the power down and warm those tyres up a little bit. They look pretty cold on the indicators down there, so let's give it a bit of a weave to try and continue to get some heat in. Now, it seems to be quite long geared, and that's possibly because it's designed for Le Mans, but I'm using the baseline set, and I will be doing that for all three cars, just using the baseline setup to give it a fair test rather than using a really trick setup on iRacing or rFactor 2, etc., and just ruining the whole effect. So we're going to use baseline all the way through, just for fairness. It's an interesting gradient to turn 1 at Silverstone. Don't remember it having that much of a crest, but it's okay. Come on, air-cooled power. Okay, tyres are starting to heat up, they're starting to go green on the indicator at the bottom, so hopefully we should start to feel a bit more grip on the car now. Yeah, the whole thing, oops, bit of a cut there, the whole thing feels very disconnected. See how fast we can take Top's corner here. There should be a pretty quick corner down to 4th. Grip. No grip. This feels very floaty. forth. This is a really fast section through here, through Maggots and Beckets. You should be able to just lean on the tyres all the way through here. But I don't get that feeling, I'll be honest. And that curve again just kind of hooks the tyre and just pulls her off to the left. It seems to happen with a few curves on Project Cars 2 that I've noticed. It's a bit weird. Still can't get over that rattle. So the car should be nicely up to temperature now. So we should get a decent lap in, hopefully. Still feels a little bit edgy if I'm being honest. Traction control kicking in there. I don't know, I'm still unsure about this. I don't know if it feels how a GTE I would expect it to drive. It feels very... I don't know. It just doesn't have that feel of a GT sports car on slicks. It's just not turning in at all. I mean, maybe that's something I can dial out with the setup if I wanted to. Obviously you can change lots of different options to improve turning and etc. It could just be a baseline thing. But the general feeling is a lot of understeer. There's a very vague front end on it. There's that weird kind of rev limiter thing way before the rev limiter actually kicks in. It's like it's hunting for fuel or something. Curve feeling is very odd. Some are fine, some just don't seem to react well. Okay, so overall then, and the car looks well modelled. I mean, the dashboard looks nice, and you know, everything looks like you'd expect a Ferrari 488 GT to look like inside. But in terms of the drive, it's not quite there for me. But that being said, it depends on what the other ones feel like as well. So how about we jump into the next version of it now, which is in iRacing. Okay, so here in iRacing then, let's see how this 488 drives here. Already there's no air-cooled Beetle noises coming from the engine, which is a good start. Now I know that the iRacing tyre model does require a couple of laps before it gets to its absolute peak optimum performance, so not expecting big things straight out of the box. However, the feel through the wheel is a lot better than I already had in Project Cars 2. So you move the wheel, you feel like there's tyres underneath you stuck to the road, which is a good start. All helps to build confidence in the car. Whoops. He says, running on too wide. Need some temp in these tyres, that's for sure. Come on. Now again, just ignoring the tracks in terms of comparing those. the interior of the Ferrari. It's fairly similar as you'd expect, but again, nicely well modelled. Not nicely driven, but nicely well modelled. You can obviously see the reflections on the dash, which look really nice. Yeah, so there's a lot more feedback going through the wheel on this one. Oop. So you actually felt that when it tipped in. It's still slidey though, but that'll hopefully get better as we go on. Yeah, so you turn the car in, and there's an element of movement on the wheel that you can just feel where the grip is. Through the club section here. Missed that curb on the inside because it's a big old sausage curb, don't want to hit that. Okay, so that's the first lap out of the pits and out of the way. So yeah, different feeling through there. You feel like you can actually point the car in and it'll go where you asked it to go. Now, I've had a little bit more experience with the Ferrari and iRacing, but I haven't driven it for a little while, so it's still going to take a bit of getting used to understand how the car drives again. But I do know there's a lot of trail braking required just to kind of be able to get that nose into the apex properly. Ooh, except that time. Tried to come round on me. Lead the power in nice and gently, so you can go over that curb on the outside there. There's no effect of me being pulled off to the left or anything like that. There's nothing to be worried about. It's just a curb, a flat curb. Oh dear. There is grip there. Just need to wash off a bit more speed if I can. Now, it's just getting used to it from the different games, that's the problem. The field of vision is a bit different, so it's getting used to where all the corners are and how quickly they come up on you. Get through Stowe safely, albeit with an off track again. Ooh, there's that curb. Don't want to hit those. But it definitely feels like a GT car on slicks. That's the big step up from what I felt in Project Cars 2. You do notice that there is grip available. So slow, those corners. But that one is important to get right because you've got the big Wellington Straight following it, so you've got to make sure you carry the speed out of it. Tyres are starting to come in a bit more now. Again, gearing's a bit off, having to go down to first gear for Luffield, which shouldn't need to do. But that's something you can again change in the setup options. Okay. Yeah, definitely felt a bit better through Cops that time round. See, look at that, you can get the car turned in there. You just know it's going to stick because it has the grip and you can feel it through the wheel, which is the main thing. So yeah, overall the car feels good. It's been iRacing for quite a while, so you'd expect it to be pretty well sorted and dialed in by now, so iRacing guys have done a good job with this car. And obviously iRacing has been incredibly popular over the last few months with the increased number of people going on due to lockdowns all around the world, so So a lot of people trying it, but the new tyre model that we introduced just recently, for me it kind of feels a bit too slippery still. Even though I was saying that there's more grip, that's in comparison to Project Cars 2, there's still an element of slippy slidey stuff going on, which is okay, yeah, maybe I can drive around it, but you still would expect a little bit more grip in some situations. But having to manage the tyre temps of each tyre is an important factor of motor racing anyway, so you've got to do the same in the sim. But I think it feels good, drives well. A big test will be to see how it does against the brand new rFactor 2 version. Okay, so here is the moment you've all been waiting for. We're in rFactor 2 in the brand new Ferrari 488 GTE. We've tried the Project Cars 2 version, which was a little underwhelming. iRacing is solid and very nice to drive, but what's it like to drive in rFactor 2? Let's take it out on track and see how it goes. As we're trundling down pit lane here, we have a look at the cockpit of the car. It looks very nice, nicely modelled. Obviously very similar to the other offerings as well, being the same car, but I think it looks really good. Nice bit of sun glare on the vent there, looks nice. Now, as we head out onto track, you'll notice that the track doesn't look as good as the iRacing version, but as I said at the beginning, we're not going to be looking at tracks. Just ignore the fact that this isn't as pretty to look at. It still drives well and it has a good overall topography, so the actual undulations are pretty good and pretty spot on. But it obviously just doesn't look as good as the iRacing ones, and we know that iRacing do a great job with their tracks. But this is all about the car. So first things I can notice as soon as I start driving this thing, even though we've got cold tyres, is just how much more feedback is coming through the wheel. Now, the iRacing car had improved feedback over Project Cars 2, and you could tell that there was grip there, but it still had an element of feel of it was very slidey, and that it would break away and you wouldn't really know when that was going to happen or how it was going to happen and if you were going to save it. But in this, you turn the car in and you pretty much feel everything as you go through the corner. So you feel the bumps, you feel the loss of traction. Yeah, so through Maggotts and Beckett's here, this is fast through here. Yeah, there's a big bump going into that last section there and you really feel it. But the car handling feels very solid. Again, we're on baseline again, so there's no trick setups going on here. But it feels very planted underneath you. And you know that as soon as you start to put a little bit too much throttle on, that you'll be able to feel when that back end slides out on you. Now in these GTE cars there is traction control, so there is an element of keeping that in check. However, with it turned down a little bit, you can still get the car sideways and sliding around underneath you, so it's not completely stuck to the ground like you would expect a Formula 1 car to be at high downforce. In terms of sounds, iRacing and rFactor 2 probably have the better sounds. The Project Cars 2 sound was a little odd with that air-cooled kind of sound to it, but I'm happy with both iRacing and rFactor 2 sounds. They are different. Obviously they've been recorded using different technology and sampled differently, but you can tell it's a Ferrari Turbo V8 behind you, so that's the main thing. But what I do notice in terms of sound is the difference in tyre sounds. So on rFactor 2 here you can tell the tyres are getting close to their limit of grip. You have that kind of complaining sound that you get from tyres when they're pushed very, very hard. And when you're a sim racer and you don't get the same feeling through the seat as you would do in a real car, unless of course you've got a motion rig, but even then it's not quite the same. You rely very heavily on the force feedback through the wheel and the sounds, so you know what the car is doing and how to react accordingly. Not second through there, let's stay in third. But when those sounds and force feedback work together, you get a good overall feeling of just how the car is behaving underneath you, which is good. there's a lot of weight to the steering wheel as well. I have turned it down from standard settings, so you can have it really high if you wanted to. But there's good overall weight to let you know precisely where your hands are when you're focusing on the track ahead. The car feels really good, I'm liking it. They're doing a good solid job on the car. I'm sure the guys who'll be driving this in the virtual Le Mans 24-hour will have a great time. Now, GTE cars are very popular in the world of sim racing. People love to drive GT cars, whether it's GT3 or GTE. And I think this is a very good addition to that. I said, of course, the Competizione has GT3 pretty well covered. I think they do a great job with that. As far as GT is concerned, I'm very impressed with this rFactor 2 version of this Ferrari. If pushed, I think I prefer it to the iRacing version. But let us know what you think. I could be saying things which you think, oh no, I don't agree with that, I think iRacing's best, or I prefer Project Cars 2, and that's fine. We're all entitled to our opinion, we all have our own likes and dislikes, but let us know in the comments below, which one do you prefer? Do you prefer Project Cars 2, do you prefer iRacing, or do you like the rFactor 2 version like I do? Let us know. But if you've enjoyed this video, make sure you click the like button, we would really appreciate that. And also, if you really like the video, hit that subscribe button as well so you don't miss out on any new content which is coming your way very soon. But until next time, we'll see you soon.